We don't have a clock at the back of the room. Anybody have a watch on?
No, yep.
Say that again. 9:05. What time do we start, Coach?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. Maybe. There might be a few. We might get a board out today. Because a big part of winning is just showing up.
Amen.
You can fake caring, but you can't fake showing up. A good friend, Jerry Leachman, talks about that. Says you can pretend to care about other people, but you can't fake showing up.
That's good.
So we show up on time for practice, don't we?
We do.
If we don't show up on time for practice, do we play in the game? They didn't when I was coaching. You didn't show up for practice, you didn't play in the game. You didn't put on a uniform, you didn't put on your helmet, you didn't grab the bat, you didn't get up to the plate, you didn't get to swing. You didn't get the glory if you weren't willing to do the work. You don't get on Sports Center or your name in the newspaper unless you show up to practice. Right? That's why we have coaches. That's why we do these things, so that we can get better. But we can't get better if we don't show up. Meeting starts at 9, not 9:04, not 9:05, not 9:01. It starts at 9. And if we're not willing to show up early, we're late. And if we create a pattern in our life showing up late, we're going to create a pattern of our life of subpar results. When we have a meeting with the entire leadership team of the company expecting to be here, and you feel like you want to be the one that delays the start time, shame on you. What that tells me is you feel like you're more important than the rest of the team. And if that's how you feel, you don't need to be on this team. I don't know about you, but that's how I was raised. I was raised to be 10 minutes early, or I was significantly late. So we've talked a lot about leadership. We've talked a lot about EOS. All right? Everybody in this room should be able to tell me what an EOS is and how to give it and what it means and why it's important. But here's a question that I don't think we've asked ourselves very much. We've asked you what's your EOS about what you do and how you do it. What do you believe about what you do and how you bring value to others? But here's a question that came to me over the weekend. And that question was, what's my EOS about me as a leader? What do we really believe about ourselves as leaders? That's a tough question. Because if you don't believe you're a leader, and if you don't believe you've got the ability to influence others and drive them to results that they otherwise couldn't get to without you, you're right. You're absolutely right. Because of whether we believe we can or we believe we can't, we're correct. So let me ask you, what do you believe about you as leaders? Do you believe you can influence others? Do you believe you can drive your team and others around you to better results than they're getting? Do you believe you can have an impact on our company's trajectory and whether we win or lose or grow or shrink in the marketplace? If you believe that, awesome. Now do you have a powerful enough why behind it so that you'll be willing to do the things that are required of leaders to help others grow? If you don't believe that, then you should take stock in what you're doing here. You should take stock in why you're actually in this room. Because if you're in this room, you were either selected or self-selected to be a leader. You are either in a leadership role, or somebody said you need to come to these meetings because we want to invest in you as a leader, or you raised your hand and said, I want to get better and be a leader. That's why we call this leadership development. But it comes back to what Coach has been teaching us now for 3 years, is what do you believe? And do you believe in yourself enough to have the courage to put yourself out there, be vulnerable, and lead other people? Even though most of the people that we try to lead look at you and say, I'm not doing that. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't fit me. Yeah, it might work for them, but it's not going to work for me. That's just not my personality. Sure, those techniques sound great on paper, but they don't work in reality. Because leaders have to push through all that crap and stay the course on what they know to be true and right and what will produce the results. But if you don't believe in yourself enough to push through all that crap and listen to all the garbage that people will say about the way that you're trying to lead them or the things that you're trying to ask them to do, and the naysayers out there that say, that's not going to work, I'd rather do it my way, you got to have a strong enough belief in yourself and the courage to put yourself out there and stay that course. You just have to. Or you're going to wake up with the same crappy results that you went to bed with. Right? And we got some great momentum. We have some great examples of having the courage to lead and lead differently. We really do. Doug, you've been a great example of that. By being able to say, you know what, I'm out here coaching our sales teams, I'm coaching, I'm banging my head against the wall, they're listening sometimes, they're not on others. You know what, the hell with it. I'm going to go out there, I'm going to start a branch, I'm going to start production, I'm going to put into practice the things that I'm teaching, and I'm going to lead by example. And then they'll listen. That takes courage. People are listening now. Seeing a great string of emails. We're starting to get some momentum with people actually taking notice. It takes courage to be a leader. We're coming into the wintertime. Things are slowing down. Leads are slowing down. For all the sales managers and branch managers on the call, hopefully you're all there, you have two choices. You can bitch about leads being down and blame other people for not having a strong enough voice on the radio, or Dave Ramsey's not sending us enough business, or whatever the reason is, or you can get up and do something about it. And you can put into practice the things that we've been coaching for 3 years, and you can lead your team to better results. And you can ignore the people that don't want to do it. Or you can coach them off your team, because if they're not willing to show up and do the things you want them to do, they're bringing the whole team down. If they're not willing to role play with you, they're bringing the whole team down. They're not willing to show up for practice, don't put them in the game. So we can lead through these things, or we can complain about them and blame other people. I'm going to choose to lead through these things. I'm going to choose to show up. I'm going to choose to put my shoes on and be ready for the game and ready for practice when it's time to do the work. I believe we're going to work harder than everybody else in this industry. Because winning in this business takes hard work. It takes courage to lead, and it takes hard work, and it takes showing up. And we got to go into this winter month, into this next season, with the courage to lead and lead well. And that's what we're going to start learning about today. Coach?
All right, good.
Go.
Thank you. You know, I had an interesting phone call this morning from a real estate agent that handles a lot of my real estate, and I told him way over to Churchill, and he asked me this question that I want you to really think about. He said, now, you've told me before that Churchill has the best culture of the mortgage firms you work with. Is that still true? Is that still true that they have the best culture? Are they still committed to the culture like you've talked about them over the last couple of years? And here's what I said to him. I said, yes, they do have the best culture. But cultures don't automatically happen. And they're very easy to let a culture kind of get out of control. Everybody understand what I'm saying? They have to be tended to. They have to be worked. They have to be cultivated. They have to be, I mean, it is really, like I know because I built a championship culture when I was a coach that now wins over and over and over. They're still winning. And I'm not even there anymore because the expectations are so high and the leaders are so strong, right? And so what I want to just encourage you today is that your job as a leader is to cultivate this culture. But I'm beginning to hear a lot of people say this, well, I can't get my people to buy in. How many times do you hear this? I hear it every day as a coach. Well, I just can't get them to buy in, Coach. I ask them, and they just don't want to come get coached. They don't want to come to the meeting. They're completely satisfied with where they are. They're doing X number of deals a month. They're fat and happy and complacent, and I just can't get them to buy in. Well, what does that say about you as a leader? Because if I ask my people to do something and they don't buy in, what does that say about my relationship with them? Shouldn't they do it out of pure respect for me? Yes or no? Shouldn't they do it outright? Everybody with me here? So I say, look, what does that say about you? You know, I was looking for clips to show you today, and one of the ones I saw last night was on the old movie, Remember the Titans, where they're in that argument, and he said, attitude reflect leadership, Captain. You remember that? Attitude reflect leadership. So what I want to do today is I want us to just realize a few things. What Matt is saying about you being a leader is if you can't get buy-in from your people, then there is an indicator. Like on an airplane, there's an attitude indicator. And that attitude indicator says you're climbing or you're descending. Everybody follow me here? The last 90 days of a year in the mortgage business is critical for two reasons. You've worked too hard to get this far to limp across the finish line. Don't you agree? Like you've exerted too much energy to get to this point to kind of just peter across the finish line. But the second reason is momentum that you're trying to build going into next year. Okay? And so for you, the leader, we're going to talk about today is possibly we as leaders need an attitude adjustment. Because sometimes it's us that needs the attitude adjustment. And when we adjust our attitude, it adjusts the team's attitude. You follow me here? Because leadership can be very weird. Because I thought about numbers. If you study some of the numbers, here's what the numbers tell us. I talked about protecting the culture. 16% of people in any organization buy in. They're called early adopters. That means they show up, they're hungry, they're just dying for somebody to lead them, right? And what does Mike say? People are silently begging to be led. Well, these people are not silently begging. They're showing up going, hey, lead me. Lead, right? Coach me. Show me. They come with batteries included. They're unbelievable to work with. Like there's an exchange of energy between you and them every day because they want to grow. They want to get better. But look how low that number is. Okay? You know, I coach a lot of real estate teams, and I tell them, here's your problem. You got 25 agents, and 5 or 6 of them are going to fully buy in. But that's where you're going to make all your money. You're going to make all your money out of those 5 or 6 people. You're going to spend all your time worrying about the other 25. Why are they not on board? Why can't they get on board? Why can't they get excited? Why can't we crank their engine? Why can't we do this? This is where all the money's made. These are, right? Then there's a group of people that sit in the middle and watch. What are they watching? So here's my early adopters. Okay? Here's my people that sit and watch. What are they watching to see? Hey, hey, if they go, I'll go. If it works, I'll do it. Right? Like they're sitting back and they're watching, and they're influenced, but they can be influenced either way. They can be negatively influenced. They can be positively influenced. But they sit in the middle and they literally sit and watch. Okay? Then you got a group of laggards. And laggards, unfortunately, never ever get on board. My question is, why do you keep these people around? Because these are the people that it don't matter what you do, how you do it, how you make it work, how it works for them. It don't matter if you move in with them. They ain't getting on board with anything. And how much time do you spend about these people? Right? We spend a lot of time and energy trying to beg with them and plead with them and hey, get them to another level. But the sad reality is they're not going to get on board. So as a leader, if I tolerate these people, and my philosophy is real simple, I just don't tolerate laggards, okay? I get rid of them, I find out, I get them off the bus, I'm not looking for those people, okay? But a lot of people do tolerate these people, and they're just not on the bus. Now, when we're talking about commitment, when it comes back to this phrase of buy-in, like I just can't get them to buy in, or they've heard this before, or or these are all low-level excuses. So here's how I want you to think about this. A low-ordinance thinker wants the new every week because they really want to be entertained. They don't want to be educated and coached. They want to be entertained. A high-ordinance thinker wants one thing, mastery. And you know how you master something? Mastery is incredibly boring because you get up and you do it over and over and over. You hear the same things over and over. It ain't sexy. It ain't fun. It ain't exciting. Mastering anything is boring. But that's how you become great. You become great by internalizing, comprehending, and taking action on, to where you are so good at it, you can do it over and over and over and over. I had a free throw shooter once that shot 93% from the free throw line, and that's 9.3 out of every 10 times she shot. That is unheard of, okay? But let me tell you what she did. She would come in on Sunday afternoons by herself with her own boombox, and she would shoot for 4 hours. I used to walk upstairs, and she didn't know I was watching her. I would walk up out of my office on a Sunday afternoon and just watch how hard she practiced by herself for 4 hours. So when it came down to who do we need to put at the free throw line, 9.3 out of every 10 times she makes it. And you know why she makes it? Because on Sundays when everybody else was out goofing off, she was in there shooting 500 shots by herself. That's commitment to mastery. Does that make sense? So I separate out the pretenders from the contenders. And here's what I know. If you want me to tell you something new every time I come, it's because you're a low-ordinance thinker and you want to be entertained. If you want me to teach you how to master something, then you got to hear EOS till you're sick of it. You got to hear it till you can give it in any setting, on any environment, right? You should have an EOS for your beliefs. I'm going to show you what mine is today as a leader, because I think sometimes our people are following us, but we haven't committed to mastery. We haven't committed to pay the price to master something. Okay? Salespeople hadn't gotten on the phone enough to commit being great on the phone. They hadn't prospected enough to be great. You understand what I'm saying? They haven't committed. And commitment means it don't matter how I feel, because feelings are emotions. It matters where I'm going to show up every day and get better, okay? And so I really want to encourage you as we come down the home stretch, as a leader, your job is to protect this culture. And stoke this culture and work this culture. And that means showing up. And that means not ever getting to the point where you think, well, I don't need to be coached, or I'm good and I'm too good, or I've heard this before, or I've heard him talk about this 17 times. What you got to get in your mind is, it's like going to a sermon and listening to a sermon, and my pastor said this once. Sometimes we judge sermons like we're judging the Olympics. Same stories in the Bible. Everybody understand? They got to tell the same stories every week. But we say, well, we don't like that song. We don't like how he talked about this. We don't like that the music was too loud. We don't like that they don't sing the old hymnals. Is that the purpose of you going to sit there and like it? No, it's not the purpose. Purpose is to go and worship. Everybody understand what I'm saying here? So we get so caught up in the minors, guys, that we got to get focused. And so today we're going to look at this concept of I need an attitude adjustment. Now, how many of you in the last 30, 60, 90 days figured out that you need an attitude adjustment yourself? I have. Okay? Because here's what I figured out. Here is some definitions. I always look at the core root of the word, attitude. A settled way of thinking or feeling. I always want, anytime you see the feeling, that's an emotion. That's an emotion. And just because emotions are real, that don't make them right. Everybody follow me? I don't feel like showing up today. I don't feel like being a good leader. I don't feel like building into the culture. Typically reflected in a person's behavior. What about this? A position of the body proper to implying an action or mental state. Okay, what about this one? I don't know how to say the first word. In cooperative behavior. A resentful or antagonistic manner. We call that a what? Bad attitude. Now, how many times have you told your kids you need an attitude adjustment? You need an attitude adjustment, right? Change your state. Change your state. Well, as a leader, sometimes we need an attitude adjustment. And so last week I was on vacation. Well, I was supposed to be on vacation, but I didn't really get to vacate. And I didn't get to vacate because my business was not operating like it should. So I had to get up every morning at 5 o'clock and work on business so as not to steal any time away from my family. Now, when you go on vacation, do you want to wake up at 5 o'clock every morning and work? Yes or no? No. But it's either work at 5 o'clock in the morning or steal some time away from my family in the afternoon. So I said, I'm committed. I'll get up at 5 o'clock, work on my business from 5 until 7. But then we had this customer issue, And then we had to drive our sales machine. And then we had to do this. So basically, although I was in Seaside, Florida, I was agitated. And I was irritated. And I had a bad attitude. Now, who do you think that bad attitude affected? At one point, even my 5-year-old daughter said, Daddy, the vacation means to take a break. Vacate, recreate, rejuvenate. But the problem was, I had this realization. I'm agitated. I'm irritated. I'm frustrated. I'm not enjoying this at all. You ever had that feeling before? So because of this, I had a bad attitude. Now look at the definition of a position of the body proper to or implying an action or mental state. Well, my mental state was I'm agitated. So I can't relax. Because I can't relax, I'm taking this out on everybody around me. Can't have fun. Can't enjoy myself. Can't do anything. And guess where all that stress is coming from? It's coming from my family. It's coming from my business. Right? So I had a bad attitude, and I couldn't hide it. You know when you have a bad attitude, you can't hide it? And so everybody was feeling this. And then I got back, and I started to reflect on my attitude. Because this is what I want you thinking about today. What is your attitude toward people today? And I started to study here. So then I said this. Look, my company is growing at a clip of 206. Would you take that 206 growth? Yes or no? Is that good or bad? Because I'm sitting there going, but it's not enough. Why is it not enough? Okay? Because that's a lot of growth. Okay? What about this? Here's why I was agitated. The machine's not working like it's supposed to, and I know it. This machine is not working like it's supposed to. What did we cover last month? $1 million machine. What were we doing last month? Dissecting what? Where your machine is not working like it's supposed to. The leads are not working like they're supposed to. The follow-up is not working like it's supposed to. The onboarding of new customers is not working like it's supposed to. Right? The asking for referrals is not working like it's supposed to. There's some part of the machine that ain't working like it's supposed to, and that frustrates you. So I got to work on the machine. Third one, I'm in an internal battle between what I believe and what I'm doing. I would submit to you that many of you are in this battle right now. Like when I'm in a relaxed state and I'm thinking about what kind of culture I want to build. I'm seeing people hanging out, having fun, eating ice cream together. Right? Like I'm building this culture where people are engaged. I'm feeding my sheep. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm feeding the body and the mind and the heart and the spirit, and people love coming to work there. But I'm in an internal battle between what I see of the culture I'm trying to build and how I'm actually building it. Why? Time constraints, pushing, exertion, wearing people out, being too exhausted. Now, how many people struggle with this one? You see what you want to create, but you're having a hard time creating it. Right? Because you're an intense person. It's like, man, this is what I'm trying to build, but this is, for some reason, when I get with my people, I'm not who I really want to be. I'm trying to be somebody that I want to be, but I'm not quite there yet. Well, this creates problems. This creates an attitude problem. I'm frustrated with this. Right? I'm frustrated with this because of this internal battle that's going on. My team is not responding like I would respond. Okay? I can't get away from this monster that I've created. How many of you ever felt that way? I had a buddy once said, you're going to practice all the stuff you preach, and one day you're going to wake up and have so much business, you're going to hate it. You're going to absolutely hate your business. I'm like, no. I ain't never going to hate this business. He said, trust me, you're going to hate so much that you're going to resent your business. I want you to think about this because you can't get away from it. Then I'm beginning to look for a way out and question what I'm doing. It's like, what am I doing? Am I tired? Am I burnt out? Am I going through a midlife crisis? You start going through all these things in your mind, right? Like, how do I get myself out of this mess? These things put you in a bad attitude, yes or no? All of these things put us in a bad attitude. Now, when we're agitated, we take that out of our team. So look at this. So here's what we create. Leaders either create certainty or uncertainty. Okay, so I want you to think. Leaders that create uncertainty create chaos. Okay, now fear. So a leader that creates fear. Here's what fear is. It's an unpleasant emotion created by a belief that someone or something is going to create harm to us in the future. That's what fear is. Now, if a person has fear, what do people typically operate in fear do? They contract. They retreat. They're paralyzed. Fear creates uncertainty. Uncertainty is what? Ambivalence. vacillation, confusion, lack of clarity. These two things go hand in hand. So if a person has these things, it's hard to get in an optimal state. It's hard to get in a high state because of what's going on. Now, I would tell you that when you're trying to sell a person to do business with Churchill versus another, the reason they're not taking action is they have some kind of uncertainty. That is attached to some kind of fear. What if I turn my loan over to them? What if I put my borrower in their hands? What if I put my customer with them? What if they don't follow through? What if they don't say what, right? That's the fear they have. That fear creates that uncertainty. That uncertainty causes a person to not take action. So as a leader, what we're trying to create is certainty. So how do we create certainty? Okay, you said the key word. The way you create certainty is to over-communicate. Everybody with me? Now, I'm selling 2 little rental properties right now, and they've assigned a little agent to these little rental properties. He calls me first thing every morning, and he ends the day by calling me. And he tells me what he's going to do, and then he tells me what he did. And he does it every single day. And because of that, I have a level of what? Certainty. So a good leader creates a level of certainty because they have certainty. Okay? It's like, hey, I know how to do this. I know how to get you to the next level. I know this process. So what I'm really selling you is a level of certainty. Now, where did that certainty come from? Think of it this way. I've had revelation. My revelation has created a conviction. My conviction has now created action. Everybody follow me here. Okay? So if I went to your branch and talked to your people, here's what I would ask them. Do you feel like your leader has a level of certainty about him or her? You feel like they've got a conviction that they can get you to the next level, yes or no? Are they taking action to get you to the next level, yes or no? Okay? Without certainty, there's fear. And where there's fear, there's no action, right? There's no action, okay? So think about this. So I started looking at, hey, what does the Bible say about attitude? If I've had a bad attitude, I just told you why I had a bad attitude. So I started thinking, like, what does the Bible have to say about attitude? And I pulled this. Jesus' attitude was never to become defensive, discouraged, or depressed because he had one goal, please the Father. In the midst of trials, this is my favorite part, he was patient. In the midst of suffering, he was hopeful. In the midst of blessing, he was humble. Even in the midst of ridicule, abuse, and hostility, he made no threats, and he did not retaliate. That was Jesus' attitude. Now, if we're looking for somebody to model, that'd be a pretty good place, right? So I want you to think about your attitude. Are you patient, impatient? Do you create hope in other people or distress in other people? Are you humble or are you arrogant? Okay? Okay, in the midst of hostility, are you calm? What is your attitude right now? Especially, and Matt asked a question a few minutes, what's your EOS and belief about how you're leading people? And so I had to go back, and I'm going to ask you to go back on this. I had to go and I had to remind myself of a few things to get my out of this attitude funk that I had myself into. Okay? So what did I have to go back and myself? Number one, why did I get into this to begin with? Because here's what I'm seeing a lot of people do. We're pushing so hard to hit numbers that it's becoming very transactional. And transactional there's no meaning in transaction. It's like transaction means discard. So what happens is pushing so hard that we actually are forgetting the very reason we got into this to begin with. You got a basic belief about helping a person with their home, yes or no? That's why you got into this business to begin with. You got a basic belief. Like I personally believe your home should be an oasis, away from the stress and pressure of life, a place where memories are made. I believe there's a difference between a house and a home. I believe one is made up of sticks and bricks and one is made up of memories. You understand what I'm saying? Well, because of that, what you're really doing is helping people find that. And so they're not a number. They're not a transaction. They're a real person, okay? And so then you got to quit living. How many people are living in the perfectionism gap? This is why you have got a bad attitude. So no matter what you produce. Now, 2 weeks ago, I spent a week in Florida with people. Some of those people were earning between $1 and $3 million a year. And here's what I found out by interviewing everyone. None of them were happy. I spent a week, same house. Okay? So think we all lived in the same house together. Okay? And I thought going down there this was going to be a good idea. Okay? Until I figured out that when you live with the person for a week, and we start in the morning at 7 o'clock, and we're still going at 1 or 2 o'clock right? that you learn a lot about people. So we had this deep, intimate time with each other. And here's what, it didn't matter how successful they were all trying to get from here to here. They were looking for some prize. They were looking for me to pat them on the back. They were looking for some acknowledgement. They were looking for somebody to say, you're good enough. Okay? You're operating at a very high level. All of them were dissatisfied with where they currently were, no matter how much they were producing. All of them. Okay? And that was a trend I kept seeing over and over and over. So the perfectionism gap says this: I'm not measuring progress, I'm measuring perfection. So I'm constantly frustrated. No matter what we do, it ain't enough. Okay? What about this? Reframing my expectations of others. If you could get your team to 80% of the way you would do it, would you be happy with that? Because I want you to start thinking like this. They're not going to do it exactly like you do it. If you could get them to 80%, you need to say, man, that's unbelievable. Okay? Quit thinking that they're going to do it 100% like you do it, okay? How do you handle a departure away from the ideal scene? We did Monster Bounce Back. We did 5 Rules of a Crisis. So you may have a bad attitude because you don't handle when unexpected things happen. Okay? Now, what are some of the myths we hear in the last 90 days of the year as it relates to the mortgage business? Because I'm already hearing them from real estate agents. What do we hear people start saying? The business begins to do what? Market's slowing down. How many of you have ever heard this? Nobody buys a house from December 15th to January 15th. Got a lot of parties, Thanksgiving. We start telling ourselves all these lies. We start telling ourselves all of these things that happen at the end of the year. These cyclical things that happen. And so when you're thinking about this, I'm going to ask you in just a second to share this with your partner. Matt said, what is your EOS about people? Then I wrote all these out because of my attitude funk. I said, I'm just going to write what I believe about being a leader of my company. What do I really believe? What is my EOS about being a leader? I believe everybody does need a coach in life. I believe we all have missing structures. I believe that we can't see the picture when we're inside the frame. I believe in the potential and power of people. I believe that business should serve our life, not run our life. I believe that work should be the distribution channel for people's talents. These are all things I'll just begin writing up about what I believe. Okay? What else? I believe our job is to, now this is important. I believe our job as leaders is to create environments where other people can thrive in. Everybody get that? I believe our job as leaders and managers is to create environments where people can thrive in. I believe in training every day, not every now and then. Okay, and we talked about that over the last couple of months. Are you training every day, 30 minutes a day? One concept a day, every day, because training is not something you did, it's something you do. I believe that I'm a specialist and not a generalist. I believe that money changes hands when problems are solved. How do we solve people's problems? I believe that we have to feed the sheep in all 4 parts of their nature. Okay? I believe that a leader others choose to follow versus have to follow. I believe in moral authority versus formal authority. See all these things I was writing down? And here's what I said. I'm not acting in accordance with these beliefs. There's a misalignment between who I say I am versus what I'm actually doing. Everybody with me? There's a misalignment here. I got to get back to being a better leader. I got to get back to being the person I want, the culture builder I want to be. Because I do believe culture is where the money is. I believe it. Okay? And I believe, here's what else I believe. Believe people begin to fatigue and get tired at the end of the year. And your job as a leader is to bring energy, not subtract energy. Your job is to build a culture that people want to come and work in. Okay? And so this is very, very critical. I believe that if I'm as the leader, they're 3 times as tired as I am. This one's critical. I always said this as a basketball coach. When I knew I was tired, here's what I said. My players are 3 times as tired as I am. Because I got a bigger to do. If I'm tired, I know they're very tired. Okay? If you're tired right now, your people are very tired, right? I believe I'm a master of human potential. I believe my job is to operate at the highest level. And I believe I can't give away what I don't possess. For all beliefs that I said that I need to recalibrate my own attitude toward people. Now, when I begin to write this out, I begin to say, this is who Coach Burt wants to be. Everybody with me? This is who I currently am as a leader. So why am I not becoming this person I want to be? Time constraints, pressure, trying to hit numbers. That's made me very transactional. And I got to get back. So what I begin doing is I begin scheduling time with each one of my people. I'd like to have lunch with you on Thursday. I'd like to do this. I'd like to do a team retreat. I would like to, what I began doing is taking action to get me back to the person I really wanted to be, because I'd let kind of the pressure of life get me out of that, okay? So I want you to look at the person beside you, and I want you to tell them what you believe, not your EOS for the company, but what would be your EOS as a leader? Because you and I believe a lot of the same things, don't we? How many of you believe creating a culture that gives birth to the potential of people is one of your number one jobs at Churchill? Right? That's one of your number one jobs here, is create an environment that people can thrive in. They want to come to. They're excited to be in. They want to go fight the good fight with you. That's what, okay, so what do you have to do as a leader to start creating that? Maybe you've gotten away from feeding the sheep. Maybe you've gotten away from all these things. And maybe you need an attitude adjustment, okay? And it's time that you change your attitude, because it's so easy to come in. So a few minutes, share with the person beside you some core beliefs that you have. And if you really want to be a big boy and a big girl, tell them where you've kind of fallen off the wagon over the last 30, 60, 90 days and say, look, Coach is right. I need an attitude adjustment in this one area right here, okay? So let's take a minute and talk about that. What do you believe as a leader? Take off. Okay. All right, so let me ask this question. Give me some examples of where you think you need, because I want this to linger. I want this one to stick with you. Does Churchill still have the best culture of all the companies? I want you to really think about that. Protecting the culture. Protecting a commitment to come together. Listen, I know it's inconvenient. I know you got a million things that you got to do every month, but just like going to church on Sunday and worshiping in a corporate setting, it brings camaraderie together when you get together and you share ideas and you challenge each other. These are very valuable things to build in a culture, guys. Everybody with me? You really, really got to commit to the culture. So give me some examples of where you feel you need an attitude adjustment as it relates to being a better leader. My second book, very few people know this. I wrote a book called The Inspirational Leader. And the subtitle was How to Become a Leader Others Choose to Follow versus Have to Follow. And it was about moral authority versus formal authority. Formal authority is I have the power and you don't. So you can either do what I tell you to do or I'll just get rid of you. Does that make sense? Moral authority is I've become such a strong leader that you want to follow me. You want to buy in. And let me show it to you this way. Here's the levels of commitment. This is called a commitment continuum. Here's what a person can do. Now that you guys understand the whole person theory, body, mind, heart, spirit, you do realize I can give you my body, but not my mind, my heart, my spirit. You do get that, right? That means I can show up physically and be here physically, but not be here with you. So when a person chooses to quit with their heart or quit with their mind or quit with their spirit, they check out. But they still show up for the paycheck. I'm here in the body, but I'm not here with my most important. So here's the levels of commitment a person can give you. The lowest level is I rebel or quit. Okay? And I don't have to physically quit to quit. I've just quit giving you my best effort. I quit caring. I quit being involved. I quit volunteering. I quit bringing any energy. I'm here, but I'm really not here. Okay? Most likely that is a result of one or two things. It's because somewhere along the way I feel like you broke my heart or crushed my spirit. When a person quits on another person, it's because they get their heart broken or their spirit crushed. Everybody with me here? And Lou Holtz used to say, what takes years to build up can take years to tear down. People are so fragile today that if you say the wrong thing at the wrong time to a person, what you spent years building up can be destroyed in a matter of seconds. They just are not emotionally tough enough to handle it. Okay? And so what you got to understand as a leader, what I'm trying to do is invest. And probably there were things you used to do as a leader, like you used to meet with your people once a week. You used to go to lunch with them. You used to have time with them. You used to listen to what they needed. Right? You used to do those things, but you've gotten busy and you've gotten away from that. We all have. I'm guilty of that. Okay? So here's what a person can do. They can rebel or quit. They can maliciously obey, which is where they actually don't care if it fails or not. But look at the lowest level of commitment to two people, will and compliance. Will and compliance is I'm here. I'll do the bare minimum so you don't fire me. I'll pretend to be involved. I'll pretend to care. Okay? But I'm just, right? Then you get over here on the high end of commitment, creative excitement, heartfelt commitment. This is where the best teams are, right here. And I pulled out my notes the other night when I was Vanderbilt, and I was explaining this to the head coach at Vanderbilt, and here's what I said. These teams win less games. These teams win no more than 15 games. These teams win championships. That's how I'd put it when I was explaining it to her. Here's your championship teams right here. You know what she said? This is where we're at right here. And I said, that explains why you're winning 18 games a year. Because it's nothing but will and compliance. They're not bought into you, and you ain't bought into them. And there's a friction between you and them constantly. And until they buy in, you're not going to win any championships. She couldn't accomplish that. 2 years later, she got fired. And she was making $1 million a year, I'm sure, doing what she loved doing, but she could not bridge this gap between those two, her and her people. You with me here? She couldn't get buy into them. So give me some examples of some attitude adjustment that you need to make. Dan, thank you for volunteering. Start us off. Yes, yeah. As it relates to your leadership. How many of you believe the better the coaches, the better the teams? Yeah. Okay. I was the AD the last 2 years at Riverdale. Here's what I noticed. When we had a great head coach, they hired great assistant coaches, they won championships. We had a lousy head coach, they hired lousy coaches, we lost. So here's my goal. I got to get a great head coach in there. If I get a great head coach in there, we're going to win a lot of games, we're going to win championships, everybody's going to be happy. It was always correlated to the head coach and how good the program was every time, okay? All right, so that's a good one, all right? Doug, what about you? Yeah. Yeah. Now, I did a blog not long ago on this concept called Don't Take It Personal. You can pour into people a lot, and they not pour that back to you, and it's easy to take that personal, isn't it? Maybe they're not ready to receive it. Maybe they're not mature enough. Maybe they need to hear it multiple times. Maybe they're not in a season of their life. My point was, don't take it personal. It's easy to take it personal, but try not to take it personal. Keep pouring in. Okay? Keep pouring in. Not long ago, a person reached out to me who quit when she played for me. Now she's 30 years old. She's going to be a real estate agent. And she wanted me to help her get a job with the real estate firm. And she said, I was not mature enough for your coaching when you gave it to me. And the worst thing I ever did was quit playing for you. This is 15 years later. But now I'm mature and I'm ready to receive what you have for me. Now think about that. When she left, I took it so personal. I was so frustrated with that person because I poured into him so much. All right, what about you guys? DD, what's yours? Attitudinal adjustment. Yeah. Okay. If you're tired, they're 3 times as tired as you are. Okay. What about over here? Now, I want to address this because you can be intense and positive at the same time. Yes or no? You don't have to be intense and negative. They polled the NFL players and asked if you could play for any coach in the NFL, who would you play for? Almost 30% of the players said they'd play for Pete Carroll because he seems like a player's coach. He's always smiling. He's always upbeat. He's always high-fiving. And then they ask his players, is he easy? Is he easy to play for? And they were like, if you think for 1 second that he's easy or he doesn't have expectations through the roof, you've drastically misjudged him. Just because he's positive don't mean he has low expectation. He actually has incredibly high expectation. But he's intense and he's positive. My nature is when the more intense I get, the more negative I become. So I have to really train myself. I don't have to go negative when I get intense. I can actually embrace these two things. It's not a dichotomy either or. I can get intense and I can be positive. Okay? Now, but that still don't mean I tolerate laggards. Okay? So I'm not telling you to be a softy and everybody's got to hug on each other every day. But I'm telling you, you can be disciplined and have high expectation and culture, and still not tolerate people, right? Still not tolerate things that are not working. And only you can make that decision. Now, if you do tolerate the laggards, what does that say to the rest of the team? Does it erode the culture, yes or no? Here's what the other people are saying. Well, man, why should I work as hard as I do when they let that person not work that hard? It actually builds a resentment from that worker to you, the leader, because they see it as your responsibility to get rid of the laggards. Because you tolerate the laggards, you encourage the laggards. Because you encourage the laggards, you're not a very good leader. That's how they see it. So what they say is, look, if you don't, my leader won't get rid of this. They just tolerate it. Okay? So I just want to keep you. Matt, what do you think? What's a good one here on attitudinal adjustment? Because you hear all this every day, you see it every day, and you hear the good attitudes, the bad attitudes.
Yeah, so speaking for me, I know one of the things that I need to continue to stay focused on is being present. We can't lead each other unless we're present in that moment. And one of the things that helps me try to do that or remember to do that is I do the same thing you did. You wrote down all your beliefs. I believe this. I believe this is what I want to be. I believe this is who I want to be. I believe this is how I want to be. And I've done that with kind of writing down same thing, but I call them convictions. What are the things I'm convicted about? I'm convicted about leaving people better off for the encounter. I'm not going to do that if I'm not present in the conversation. We all got a lot going on. We're busy. There's stress. There's personal lives. There's business lives. There's relationships. There's this person irritating you and this petty little argument over here, and there's all the drama that can suck our attention and our focus. We got to stay focused on being present if we're going to leave people better off.
One of your sayings has to do with the heart. Until you something with the person's heart, they don't buy into your.
Yeah, I believe that until you connect with the heart, that you can't then inspire the mind. So first you got to connect with the heart, then you can inspire their mind, and at that point you're in a position to influence behavior. But it's got to be in that progression, or it's willing compliance. If all you try to do is give somebody the facts, if they work for you, they're probably going to do it. They might even do it okay. But if you connect with their heart and then you inspire their mind, you're going to get a whole lot better result than willing compliance. You're going to get some impassioned response. And boy, that's what you want.
60% of the people that were at the retreat with me had personal issues. Personal problems. Divorce, can't get their kids on board. So when I had these one-to-one intimate sessions with them, all of that just came out. And you know what? They hadn't dealt with it. The fact that we put them in a house for 3 days away from their work and their life forced them to deal with it. They didn't slow down long enough to deal with it. And then when they were forced to slow down, then they're like, I got to deal with this. I don't want to deal with it, but I got to. It was holding them back, right? Until they got clarity on that. They had uncertainty and they had fear. So they couldn't move to the level. They were just stagnant, okay? So I just want you to think, sometimes you got to, so here's our commitments as we get out of here. I'm going to be working with a sales team on this 90-day burn over the next 90 days on how to stimulate your own economy. I just want you to know that, because I don't want, at the end of the year, you to have any stagnation. I want you to push across the finish line. So I'll be showing the sales team today how to accelerate through what I call a 90-day burn. Specific actions they can take every day to stimulate their own economy. You follow me here? So it's like a concentrated focus. And if they'll commit to these actions, I think it'll increase the probability of making sales in the last 90 days, and it'll start 2018 with some positive momentum. Now, at the retreat, we're going to be working on a couple things. We're going to be working on a 7-touch follow-up, which is a missing structure, so that we walk out of there with 7-touch follow-up, because people don't have that. We're going to be working on how to follow up after the sale, and kind of building a system that after you put a person in a house, there's a great follow-up, because I feel like those are two areas that consistently come up as as missing structures for Churchill and really most mortgage companies, okay? So just know those are some of the things we're going to be working on down at the retreat, some very specific things. I'll be down there if you want to spend some personal time with me. If you want to talk, if something's not going the way you want it to be, I'll be available to talk to you. Or if you're just at a plateau and you want to go play at a much higher level and you're trying to break through that plateau, sometimes just talking with another person can jar that loose. There's just a bit of change you need to make, and you just can't figure out because you're so close to it, okay? So here's our commitment walking out of here today. I will reconnect with my people. I will recommit to this. I really want to be able to tell people when they ask me, does Churchill have the best culture? I want to always say, absolutely. They are so freaking committed to their culture, it's ridiculous. Because I see a lot of companies that have no commitment to their culture whatsoever, okay? They're basically free agents. That's part of the special you guys have created. So I really want you to protect it, okay? Recommit to it. Recommit to showing up every month for the leadership meetings. Recommit to spending time with each other. Recommit, okay? It's one of those things that after you go, you always feel better because you went, right? You got a little reluctance before you go, then you always feel better. I want you to start guarding your heart. Don't, operate with the broken heart. Guard your heart and do this. I will build a culture. Make a commitment to build a culture that gives birth to the potential of people. Become that master of human potential we're trying to talk about. And for some of you, you need to say, look, I told my team, look, it's my fault. I had a bad attitude last week. Ain't on you. It's on me. It was me. I'm the one that needed an attitude adjustment in this scenario. So I'll go to work on my heart. I'll go to work on being a better leader. Okay? Because I know you're tired, because I know I'm tired. So let's just we've come too far. We've fought too hard to get to the finish line and limp across the line here. Let's push the thing and let's build some momentum, okay? Thank you guys for showing up and being coachable today. Okay? God bless you.
Thanks, Coach. Here's the good news. You got this, right? Thank you, Doug. We totally believe that you have the ability to lead and inspire your teams to grow your team and this company. If we didn't believe in that, you wouldn't be here. And we're not only believing in you, we're counting on you. And so just go back. If you need to take a minute and write down these recommitments and write down what you believe about yourself, do it. There's great accountability to putting down your own convictions and sharing them with others. There's great power in the vulnerability of doing that. So go connect with people. Thank you.